Re-Zero, Side Story, Provisional Rem's Paranoia, A Metal Bat for an Oni, Chapter 1.
Rem's life in the walled city was extremely busy. She would help with cooking and laundry in the morning. After that she would perform a round checking on the condition of the injured people. She would take time to look after their recovery with healing magic, and, when appropriate, she interacted with many people, striving to find her missing memories. Doing that, a whole day had passed by in the blink of an eye, with no time to sit idle and ruminate on her many troubles. For that, Rem was currently grateful, since troubling over things she could do nothing about was something she believed to be very unhealthy. Even so, the moment she had even a sliver of free time. I wonder if Rui-chan is doing all right with that person. Only then did such a worry rear its neck and make Rem's chest hurt in gloom. Everybody who had headed to the magic city of Chaos Flame when Rem's thoughts happened upon Rui, who had gone with a group headed by Subaru and Abel. She felt uneasy. She had heard the magic city, their objective, was a dangerous land, and there was also Rui and Subaru's relationship. To begin with, it was ridiculous that Subaru was so persistently wary of Rui like that. Of course, Rem had also greatly renewed her impression of Subaru these past few days. She had many things to say about his actions and attitude, and there was also the fact that, sometimes, when he was out of sight for a moment he'd come back with a gruesome stench on him, but she couldn't doubt that earnestness of his. However, it wasn't like there wasn't also a part of her, which wanted to doubt that part of his as well. But, in my eyes, Rui-chan being suspicious, she just couldn't see it, much less guess what it could be. It wasn't just her, the people of Shudrak with them all were the same. Even they, who should have a better eye for this than Rem, couldn't see a single questionable thing about Rui. That was to say, Subaru's reason for being overly afraid of Rui was something that only he could see, which is precisely why it was scary that he could no longer be stopped without Rem. Medium-san and Tarata-san are with him, so they should attempt to stop him if he does try to do anything horrible to Rui-chan, but the cheerful Medium and the serious Tarata, they were the last line of defense for Rui. From Rem's point of view, the men accompanying them aside from Subaru, Abel and Al both couldn't be trusted. Abel wouldn't prioritize Rui over his objective, and Al, he seemed like he hated me. He hadn't said anything to her directly, or tried to injure her in any way. It was just that, on the inside of that black metal helmet, Rem could feel that the gaze watching her held something dark. While he seemed friendly to Subaru, that wasn't reason enough to re-evaluate him. Still, she could only say that Rui's safety is riding on top of Medium and Tarata's shoulders. What's wrong, Rem? Why the long face? Thus, such a voice called out from behind to Rem, who'd stopped still and was looking up to the sky. At the edge of her vision as she turned around, was Myzelda waving at Rem, the latter standing in a plaza in front of the city town hall. With her now short hair dyed back to red, she possessed a wide smile, her eyes filled with strength. Seeing Myzelda's figure, Rem's eyes went wide with an ah and rushed to offer her cane. Myzelda-san, you can't just, humph. Don't treat me like a casualty. You act like I'm seriously injured. I believe if you're injured to the point you're missing a leg, you are pretty seriously injured. Replying to the cross-armed Myzelda, Rem drew near until reaching her immediate front. Having gotten used to using her impaired legs, she had become able to move at quite a speed while using a cane. Which was why Rem could move without burdening Myzelda, although, having that done for her seemed to have made Myzelda dissatisfied. Good grief. You keep treating me like I'm fragile, and my other leg will shrivel up and fall off on its own. Myzelda-san, I get it. Being glared at intently by Rem's upturned eyes, Myzelda gave a strained laugh as she submitted. Below the missing bit of Myzelda's right leg, a wooden stick had been fitted, and so she walked around quite skillfully, by putting the tip of that stick to the ground. While in terms of her body and her recovery, it would be better if she took it easy, the fact she turned a deaf ear to it was Myzelda's own fault, even though as a result of losing her leg, she had been forced to hand over the role of chieftain to her younger sister, Tarata. If you're that healthy, you didn't need to rush and hand over your duty. No, that could not be, Myzelda so sharply stated to Rem's whisper, as she admired Myzelda's adaptability. The gentle light disappeared from her eyes and she continued with the gaze of the Shudrak, of those who had to live in a tough world. Someone who cannot fulfill the role of chieftain continuing to be in position, must not be prolonged for even a single second. Those who cannot draw a bow, must end their hunt unsullied. Rem, who had meant to elaborate on her honest opinion, turned her face in embarrassment upon Myzelda's answer. Again, she had spoken as if she knew anything while lacking in experience. Even though Myzelda herself, more than anyone else, would have thought about her own course of action, despite the fact that she had obviously noticed how anxious Tarata had appeared, having been bestowed with the role of chieftain. Don't make such a gloomy face, Rem. It's clear to me you're anxious about Tarata. About Subaru and Rui, to me, it seems like you do not understand a single thing. If you say so, then I think I'll also not say anything too strongly. Yes, that indication, as if trying to hide the discomfort, did not fool the eyes of Myzelda, who had led the Shudrak as chief. Myzelda shrugged her shoulders, at the pleased Rem, who feebly nodded. Despite appearances, Tarata has ability to rival my own. What Tarata lacks is confidence and the experience tied to that confidence. That she should earn with this journey. Confidence and experience, is it? It would seem that is something that could be said for Rem as well. Being looked down on by the tall Myzelda, Rem was slightly at a loss for words. That was in reality because Rem had realized just how much that had struck the mark. Being given a great responsibility, seemingly about to be crushed by anxiety, Rem saw herself in Tarata's shoes. Of course, Rem understood that the great responsibility of chieftain that Tarata shouldered, and the personal issue of my past self that she shouldered, were rude to even compare to each other. Regardless, I don't feel Tarata's issue as someone else's. Might be because I have heard that I also have an older sister, Rem's sister. I'm sure she is a very noble, excellent woman. Is that so? It would be nice, if that is the case, her yet-to-be-seen twin elder sister, her existence, despite only coming from Subaru's words, she wholly believed in it. Strangely, certainly, she must have a sister who was her other half. Subaru doing everything to protect Rem, must also be because his desire to have her reunite with her sister was strong. There was a longing thought within that as well. It was simply that, on the other hand, she also held doubts. To push through those doubts, first, start by finding a self to believe in. That was sure to be connected to the logic behind the confidence and experience that Myzelda mentioned. Lady Myzelda. So this is where you were, Humph. Then, there was a voice calling out to Myzelda as she was talking to Rem, and so she raised her face. And when dragged by that, Rem also moved her line of sight, and a silhouette waving at them from within the city town hall came into view. Plentiful unruly hair arranged in a round manner, a personage which gave a round and stout impression. However, in truth, he was a male possessing unusually excellent ability and humanity. Zika, being entrusted with this city by Abel, he was presently acting as Rem and Myzelda's group's commander. With that charming countenance of his round eyebrows frowning. When I heard you were walking about, my blood ran cold. You are still in the middle of recovering from your injuries, you ought to be resting. Like so, he walked closer while giving words of worry for Myzelda's body. However, as Zika's words were the same as Rem's, sure enough, Myzelda's face adopted a displeased frown. So you would say the same, Zika. I am sick and tired of hearing that. Even if you say you are tired of it, I will continue to say it until it gets through. Should you have some spare time left over, I would like it if you could counsel me. Counsel, you say? Yes, about the stationing of the Shudrak people. Though already handed over, it didn't change the fact that Myzelda was the former chieftain of the people of Shudrak. In Tarata's absence, the one qualified as an advisor would be Myzelda. This way, rather than treating her as a casualty, her opinion being sought after would be more proactive. Can't be helped. What Kuna and Holly lack, I must answer for. Of course, I would prefer them to be present as well. For the defense of the walled city is not a foreign matter to your people nor to us. What will Lady Rem do? Once Myzelda displayed willingness to give advice, Zika moved the spotlight to Rem. It was likely that he was lightly aware that Rem would indulge in anxieties and worry her head if she had free time on her hands. For that mindfulness, and consideration of Zika's. She admired him. "Thank you very much, Zika-san. But, I've been called already." Was that the case? I suppose, that person would be. Not taking any offense, Zika very naturally retracted his proposal. Then, as he inquired further, Rem bowed with a, "Indeed, I have an appointment with Priscilla-san."
Chapter 2.
When it comes down to it, beautifulness is the proof of excellence. Do you understand it as such, Rem? I must say, beautifulness is not something limited to just appearances. It is not separate from your conduct, poise, or your way of thinking. For, beautifulness is what lies within such essence. Saying such, she took that arm extended straight in her hands. Rem savored the feeling of her soft supple skin, and the paralyzing numbing feeling of her beautiful voice violently penetrating through her skull. In front of Rem, sporting bathwear, Priscilla with her pale stretched out arm was exposing her stark naked body. The place they were in was a bathing room, so, as they were in the middle of bathing, it was only natural. But overwhelmed by that white skin and body with bountiful charm being displayed freely, Rem could not even feel uncomfortable being there. When Priscilla had first invited her to the bathing room, she had even wondered what for. Bathing is also one of my favorite things. That's the reason for the biggest mansion in town. Why I requisitioned it. If that's what you are inquiring, then yes. A cramped lodging, or a place such as the barracks where the soldiers rest at, do you think I would lay there? Who do you take me for? Priscilla Barriel-san. In fact, from now on, I must have you add summer there. With one eye closed, Priscilla looked at her with that crimson gaze of hers. While being scorched by the heat of that gaze, Rem ran a soft cloth through her nude body, and respectfully washed her. As she had declared she'd keep her close, Priscilla used Rem as if she was her own attendant, preparing meals, attending to clothing, as well as helping with bathing. This way, all were part of that. Frankly, she could say she had been chosen as an appropriate servant in this situation. However, so then, can you now see that which you are missing, Rem? Washing down her body, hearing the soaked Priscilla's query, Rem remembered the dry feeling in her throat. That gaze and those words showed in truth that her intentions for inviting Rem were not purely arbitrary. Soon enough, she recalled Priscilla's previous words. That beauty laid in the essence. She took time to understand the truth of why she had been told that. Priscilla silently wrapped her nude body in bathwear, and gazed at the pondering Rem. One might end up feeling dizzy if they took too long in the baths. However, with that at the edge of her thoughts, Rem did not feel pressured by Priscilla, and without pressure, Rem slowly churned her thoughts. If beauty lies in the essence, then does my healing magic also qualify as beautifulness? By and large, such understanding is correct. Hearing Rem's reply slowly surface, Priscilla lowered her shapely jaw. However, before Rem could be relieved by that reaction, she resumed her words with most importantly, "If I had to say, I could not bear to watch your healing technique. Your understanding of healing arts, circulating of mana, and way of circulating. They are almost careless. If that is to become something worth seeing, by necessity, we must fill your gaps. While I understand what you're saying, what she understood was only really the superficial aspects of it. If in Priscilla's logic, she could understand that in what one excelled there was a kind of beautifulness. In such a case, then in covering the gaps in Rem's healing technique there would be a search for beautifulness. However, even if she understood the means through which she could acquire that, the effort to was foolish. For which reason do you believe I invited you to this bathing room? As she raised a sudden voice, her consciousness blanked out, and the next moment, her field of vision revolved. She immediately attempted to hold onto her cane, however she had not brought it to the bathing room. With nothing to rely on, Rem's body was thrown head first into the hot water. Pooh-ha. Priscilla-san, what are why? Silence. Simply, silently float. You are a part of the world. First, become aware of such. Not minding the protests of Rem, who had raised her body inside the bathtub, Priscilla quietly decided so. Taking that in, Rem had her forehead pushed by Priscilla's slender finger. As she held her breath, her body fell backwards, and, just like how Priscilla had spoken, Rem's body floated within the warm water. She hadn't folded to Priscilla's pressure, she just naturally believed that it should be so, irregardless of your memories being there or not. As you are here now, you are you. Lose sight of the world or curse yourself, the truth shall not falter. That, you must take in for what it is. Cast down your eyes, search within your cast-down figure for an admirable part. What you seek is not my protection, but the cane with which you shall walk on your own. Into the floating Rem's earlobe, Priscilla's words warmly permeated, clearly and concisely, was not how the road towards excelling in healing magic had been laid out for her. Perhaps some would have even dismissed it as a white lie to make one feel better. However, within the not even roughly 20 days' worth of memories that Rem possessed, there were no recollections of ever having met a human being more beautiful than Priscilla. The people of Shudrak all, and Mizeld especially, could be felt to have a similar sort of beauty. However, Priscilla was a standout among even them. From your limbs, to even individual strands of hair, flow yourself through, Rem. If you do so, you might be able to naturally slip through the influence held in the observer's hands, even, eyes closed, slowly, the meaning of Priscilla's words, and her own heartbeat matched, and spread throughout, remembering the faraway Subaru who had promised to return, and Rui who had gone together with him. Rem, who'd simply, quietly become one with the world, had her heart no longer disturbed by that.